Hi! Okay, so y'all gotta bear with me because I have literally never, ever done this before. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. As you have seen from today's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, I didn't really get to finish the reunion or enjoy it the way that I wanted to for you guys, for my fans, for everybody. So we're gonna try to get through some things that I would have liked to say about the show, on the show, and then the second I sit down, like all these numbers just shoot up. It's so funny. So we're gonna try to do that. I've been like watching the comments since I posted my photo and since the episode aired today. And first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for being so like wonderful and supportive. And oh God, this light is bright. Also, big shout out to Wigs and Grace for this wig, because she definitely turned it out, and everybody's been asking me since the first screenshots of the episode where this hair came from. Gloria at Wigs and Grace did an amazing job, and don't try to beat me to it because I'm getting it in every color because it is something to behold. So we're gonna get to that. Let's get right to the bullshit, as Monique says. So let's just go over the episode, or let's go over my Drag Race journey together. How about that? Let's start with my entrance line. So, what was it? I just came here to fight. So first of all, my full-on intention was to walk into the room, cool as hell, and just be like, I just came here to fight. And I was so nervous and excited and hyped up about being there and actually walking into the room that it came out like, I just came here to fight, because my adrenaline was shooting through the roof. And only to make things worse, the first time I came out, I didn't stand in the right spot. And then the next time I came out, the camera didn't catch me in the right way. So I had to say, I just came here to fight like 4 times before I actually met the queens that were already in the room. So these girls already had a really strong opinion about me by the time I got to turn around and say hi to them, because I had come in the room 4 times screaming, I just came to fight. Which is also, like, I just came here to fight is a quote from Bad Girls Club that my friend Lucy Stool has always joked that if I ever got on Drag Race, I should say. And I was like, you know what? I can't think of nothing to say. I'm going to say that. I mean, it fits me not because I fight people. It fits me because I am very passionate, and I will go toe-to-toe with you on something that I believe. So that was that. And yeah, it was all downhill from there, I guess. So I guess the next thing that y'all would probably want to talk about is the too vague moment. So I guess from the second that Aquaria walked into the workroom, girls were talking about, first of all, cheers to a good season. Thank you. So the second that Aquaria walked into the workroom, girls were talking about her and Miss Cracker being twins or looking exactly alike. I'll give you a little backstory. I had met Miss Cracker in Chicago about a year before we filmed at a nightclub called Queen at Smart Bar. And we really hit it off. And then I met Aquaria at DragCon LA the year before we filmed, and I thought she was Miss Cracker. So I had already been through this whole confusion thing, and I thought it was just me. So when they came into the workroom and everybody was talking about how they looked alike, it was like, oh, so this is really a thing. Cut to us doing our makeup together, and first of all, and that is something that I should really point out too, is that if you look at the first couple episodes, me, Aquaria, and Eureka, and Mayhem did our makeup together because we wanted to know each other. We wanted to like each other. We wanted to kind of click up and be supportive of each other because we had all heard of each other and appreciated each other on some level. So it was kind of like a fatal move that we all made, thinking that, oh, we're all strong personalities. Let's hang out. Bad idea. So, cut to Untucked, and Aquaria and Monet were talking about this phenomenon of the two of them looking alike and this whole thing. And I think it's important to note that, like, when Aquaria was talking about it, Monet didn't say anything against Aquaria. That Monet didn't speak up for Cracker until I said that they looked alike. So I thought it was really interesting that once I came to the conclusion, based off what the two of them who actually knew Miss Cracker in the room had presented to me, that Cracker faked her way to the thing, then all of a sudden it's an issue. Cut to it being brought up by Calorie asking Aquaria in the workroom what was said, and Aquaria being too vague. Now, while that was happening, they did a good job of showing my face while I'm watching Aquaria be vague. Shout out to Aquaria, because as you all know, that's my girl now. But so that happens, and I'm kind of processing it. And if you notice, I'm sitting right next to Eureka. So I don't know if it was between like a camera needed to be reloaded or something, but I remember saying to Eureka, girl, that's not how it went down. And Eureka is saying, well, speak up. So the whole reason that the too vague thing popped off is because Eureka suggested that I should say something. So that being said, it came out, and it really was, I was like, I came to this competition liking Miss Cracker. You all gave me a reason to think that she was something that she wasn't. And then when I brought it up and tried to get it out on the table, now it's not a big deal. It's not what it is. So now I look like a bitch when really I'm just trying to understand the truth and get to the root of which one of you bitches is lying to me, because apparently there can only be one. So that whole thing was that. And then a big moment was the Vixen Will Fight You notebook sheet of paper. So what that was is, when we first got to the workroom, I carved out my makeup station, and somebody moved my stuff. I don't know who it was, but so I put my stuff back where it was, and I put up a sign that said, "The Vixen Will Fight You." Pretty much just me saying, don't move my makeup. So after that whole fight, I get to my makeup station, and the sign is there, and there's 3 cameras in my face, and I'm like, what do y'all want? So the sign was like, okay, get out of my face. But of course it's like infamous now. No, there will not be t-shirts, so get over it. What happened next? Okay, so something that I thought was interesting about tonight is, so this reunion is here to talk about all the big moments of Drag Race. And after talking about the first fight with Aquaria, we skipped straight to Eureka. But what we skipped over is probably the most important conversation that happened on season 10 of Drag Race, if not one of the most important conversations that happened on Drag Race in general, which was the leave me alone conversation with Aquaria about optics and the narrative and the angry black woman whole situation. I thought in the moment at the reunion, the fact that that moment with Aquaria and talking about the narrative, the fact that literally that has sparked such a conversation with the fans, a conversation amongst alumni of Drag Race, and brought so much awareness. The idea that the show skipped over that at the reunion really says that they were not here for talking about any of the real issues, and they weren't here for making me out to be anything but a villain. Because I think that that moment is probably my proudest moment of Drag Race, and they didn't want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it right now. So in that moment, I definitely was frustrated because I'm a tough cookie. If you start with me, you better know what the hell you're talking about, because I will, like, if I engage with you, I always say this, if I'm willing to fight with you, I've already won. Like, if I think you have a point, I'll be like, okay. But if I go, actually, it's over. So when me and Aquaria were going back and forth, and she was like, is this your best drag, yada, yada, yada. I was like, oh, okay, you really want to do this, little girl. Okay, well, in that case, let's go there. And for somebody to engage with you, and then when you come back and they run away and leave you looking like the bitch, that's when the angry black woman narrative comes in, all of that good stuff. And what I love about Aquaria is even though she was pulling the patch in the moment, she checked herself, she realized, okay, this is not the kind of person that I want to be, and she left me alone. Now, in Aquaria leaving me alone, I got time to see her from a distance, understand her better, sympathize with her, find what I liked about her, and me and her have a really good relationship now. If there's one thing I regret about that conversation, is that Eureka was not in the room for it. Because I think she would have learned a lot, and maybe we wouldn't have had as much drama 2 days later. Because I don't know if you guys realize, Drag Race is filmed day after day after day. It takes 2 days to film one episode. So episode 3, I was telling Aquaria to leave me alone. 2 days later, back in Untucked, Eureka will not leave me alone. So let's cut to that. So we've had this big blowout moment. Actually, let's double back. So after me and Aquaria have this big moment in our feather dresses, and we're talking about this narrative. The next day, we get back to the studio. It's time to do boy interviews and talk about the day before. Now, my storyline producer was not interested in the conversation that I brought up. I wanted to talk about it. And she was like, you don't really think that Aquaria meant to make you look like this or that. There was nothing about my experience filming the show that made me feel like I had brought up the most important topic or that I had done something important. Based on the reaction that I got during the show, I thought that I had made a mess with that whole angry black woman narrative. I did not think it would be aired, and I really don't think that it was aired to be a progressive thing. I think it was aired for drama, and I think because you guys, the fans, were so wonderful and understanding about it, it really changed the way that they had to present things, because they thought that that was just going to make me look petty or something like that, and then it actually turned out to be something that was important to you guys, important to alumni. My favorite part about being a RuPaul's Drag Race queen is meeting former RuPaul's Drag Race queens, because they have been so nice and supportive and understanding and welcoming, and it really is a sisterhood. But that sisterhood has nothing to do, and a lot of times is in spite of the show itself. It's the experience that brings us together, and there's over 100 queens who have been through this experience, and meeting them and connecting with them and getting their support is like, it's a blessing that I couldn't have asked for and I couldn't have imagined, but it is so important to me, and it's my favorite thing about going to any RuPaul's Drag Race event is seeing the alumni and talking to these girls that I've looked up to and learned from, and now getting to meet them and them giving me that validation and support is like through the moon. But when I told Aquaria that she was making me look like an angry black woman, the mood in the room was, ooh, you shouldn't have said that. And it wasn't until 6 months later that I found out that I actually did something that mattered. So, moving on. So 2 days later, we're in Untucked again. And I walked into the room saying, I'm not going to sit on that couch, that's the shady couch. I want to be over here because I want to have a peaceful day. I was safe when I didn't expect to be safe. I just wanted to get through an episode drama-free. Now, me and Monique were bonding over the fact that we're 4 episodes in and we've never really had a critique. Yes, it's great to be safe, but we've never had a critique rep. Now, Eureka says that she was trying to chime into the situation and she felt like her opinion wasn't being heard or she wasn't welcomed in the conversation. There's an old phrase, get in where you fit in. And if you're not fitting in, move on. Because there were 2 other girls in the room that she could have been talking to. But she was persistent in interjecting herself into me and Monique's conversation when it really could have been an opportunity for me and Monique to bond. one of the saddest things about the show is that you don't get to see how many girls I actually connected with. And when I talk about season 10, these girls are really my sisters. I had a lot of great experiences with Asia, with Monique, with Mayhem, with Blair, with Miss Cracker. We really had a really good time. And those things fell wayside to a lot of irrelevant drama. But, so that being said, so we're there, and Eureka's trying to inch her way into this conversation. And when she's not really being welcomed, instead of moving on, she decides to antagonize the situation. First, what was it? She called us crafty. Now, a lot of people were like, why were they so offended about being called crafty? In drag, especially coming from a queen who has done pageants like Eureka, calling someone crafty is basically calling them cheap. It's shade. So me and Monique's face was like, oh, so you're just going to use this coded language to come for us right now? Okay. But we still brushed it off. And then she called us negative, which I had just had this conversation with Aquaria about why using the word negative was loaded and full of microaggression. But Eureka wasn't in the room for it, and so there she was. And I said, please don't call me negative because it does something to me. And she says, well, then don't be. Again, another poke. And poke after poke after poke, and I'm trying to push it back. And even when she says, I'm tired of hearing you talk, I'm going to go smoke a cigarette. She gets up, and you can see the look on my face is like, I look like I had been hit by a car, like, why is this happening to me? And I tried to still diffuse it. If you need to go smoke, then that's all you need to say. And she's like, well, I feel like you didn't respect me for whatever. And this is where I can hear the alarm going off. Looking at it, I can see the countdown, 5, 4, 3, until, and the tone of my voice when I say, I do not need to pick this fight right now. You are picking this fight with me. I can hear my voice straining to hold back tears and me deciding that I'm not going to cry in this moment. It's on, bitch. And so that's what had happened. And seriously, like, I was like, I have been trying all season to find common ground with you because I didn't like that I was entering a competition with an idea about Eureka already. I wanted to get to know her. That's why I sat with her. That's why even when we were in a group together, I was like, okay, I'm just going to take the back seat because I know that I feel a certain way. And so I'm going to just get through this challenge and be a team player. And I just really wish that she just would have respected that maybe I needed a moment. Maybe I was having a bad day. Like, if you feel like somebody is not feeling you, the answer is not to push or poke. Like, I don't owe anyone the respect, or I don't have to make anybody feel more special. One, we are in a competition. So if you think I don't like you, oh fucking well. Like, if you feel like you don't fit in with me and Monique, oh fucking well. Like, there are more girls in competition and you're not here to make friends, bitch. And so it's just like that whole idea that I needed to give her certain respect and how dare I not give her any respect is just really rooted in some backwards thinking. And you can take that however you want. Now, I mean, I guess the real elephant in the room is the video with Eureka saying the N-word. I'm black. The video with Eureka saying, nigga, my motherfucking nigga, all this shit. Now, I hadn't seen that video when we filmed the show. I didn't know about it. Had I probably never would have given Eureka the time of day. But I understand that it was a long time ago, all of that stuff. And you can forgive. I don't think you can really forget, but I think you can forgive Eureka for it if she has apologized for it. But when certain actions start piling up, like what she did with me and provoking me and using white tears to make herself the victim, and then what she did with Kingsley and using him as a weapon in the competition, it just kind of, I'm like, if you're not a racist, it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be a struggle for you every day to prove that you're not a racist. So I'm not saying that she is, I'm saying that she needs to look at herself and figure out why this is something that is following her throughout her career years later. But anyway, so Eureka goes and she's talking to Mayhem and she's saying that she was testing me because she felt like I didn't give her the respect. We all know what that is. something that I do want to address is she says, and I feel like she's starting to see me as a threat in this competition. Now, at that time, I had won a mini challenge, a challenge. Maybe, I can't remember, another. At that time, I was doing well, and Eureka hadn't won nothing yet. So I was not seeing her as a threat. There was no need to see her as a threat. I mean, obviously, she was one of the judges' favorites, but at that moment, I was doing fine enough by my own. I didn't see anybody as a threat. That wasn't the team. I just couldn't let that slide. So anyway, all of that, and then you cut to the next day, and we're coming into the room, and she wants to talk to me about, okay, how are we gonna make up? Who said we were gonna make up? Oh, you think that now that you've gotten me into this mess, I'm gonna help you out of it? No, ma'am. So that's why I didn't want to give her a hug or any type of physical confirmation, because I didn't think that she deserved it. I didn't want you, the audience, to think that everything was okay, because it wasn't. I never wanted to put a stamp on it and make it seem like it was all taken care of, because I knew in my heart that she made that situation happen, and it showed me her true colors. So that's why throughout the rest of the season, I was not having it for Miss Eureka. Where are we? Help me out. There's so much going on. First of all, there are a lot of you watching, so hello, thank you for that. I literally waited all season to do any type of live thing, because I knew that there would be a day when it would be really important, and I didn't want to waste it. So thank you guys for tuning in. Eureka Vine. So let's cut to one of the bigger moments, the mermaid thing. So a lot of people were like calling me a hypocrite because I was saying that Eureka needed to change the way she was, but saying that I wasn't going to change the way that I was. First of all, none of the girls had a problem with the way that I was. Girls had a problem with the way that I responded to them when they came for me. And the solution for that is, don't come for me. My issue with Eureka wasn't how she reacted, it was how she acted. Eureka knew the lay of the land. She had been on the show before. She knew half the people in the studio. She knew what she could get away with. She threw her weight around, no pun intended. She took up all the air in the room. She really did. And, you know, you guys don't see everything that goes on. A lot of the girls were smart enough to save their nasty attitudes for when the camera was off. And, you know, that's a smart game. It wasn't the game I was playing, and if I was really a better competitor, maybe I would have. But I came into the show wanting to be as genuine as possible, and sometimes that doesn't make the best competitor. So that's my loss, but doesn't make you a good person, and I don't know how you sleep at night. But so we get to the Mermaid Challenge. Now, Snatch Game, good Lord. Asia, bless her heart, she really did not have a plan for Snatch Game. And our season, we had to audition with 3 Snatch Games. So I was really baffled at why she didn't have a backup. But whatever, she wanted to do Beyonce. I was like, okay, this is my thing. When I came into this competition, I was expecting to be maybe one of 2 black girls. It had not ever crossed my mind in the realm of possibility that I could be in the competition for season 10 with 4 other black queens. I was not prepared to compete against 4 other black queens. Me being Miss Black Girl Magic and all of this stuff, it was not in me to compete against 4 black queens. I didn't have it in me to try to send them home. I didn't have it in me to do anything against them. I didn't want to start a fight with them. I didn't want to engage with them in any way, because I knew that there would come a time when I would want them to be in my show, Black Girl Magic, which will be at Metro Theater June 26th, and we'll be in Detroit on July 17th, and we are making big moves. And I knew that I wanted us to get to that place, so I really just did not engage with the girls, with my sisters, in that way with Wakanda, because I knew that I wanted to uplift them at some point. And honestly, I would have liked to see as many black girls make it to the top as possible. So there was no way when Ru asked who should go home, I was going to pick a black queen. And me and Aquaria, even though we weren't the best of friends, at least she had given me the space that I needed. And so on that stage, Eureka was at the bottom of my list. So it wasn't me being shady, but I was like, if this is my chance to send this bitch home, I better make a good fucking case. So that's why I went in and said all the things. Now, I think on the show they showed every girl at least saying my name. Now you guys saw how Miss Asia went in on Miss Cracker. And I would say she was probably a little harsh on me too when she said the reasons that she thought I should go home. And then, so we had Monet, and then Asia, and then Monique said that I should go home. And then Aquaria said that because based on the judges' critiques. It's also important to note that Aquaria on stage said, but to be fair, Eureka was very annoying this episode. That didn't make it to television, but facts are facts. So if you notice, when we get to Untucked, I wasn't upset with Aquaria. I wasn't upset with Monet because Monet had at least said, you know, Vixen because she is my strongest competition. My biggest issue was with Monique and Asia because one, I could not have imagined doing that to them. And two, Asia had really tore into me like she did Miss Cracker. Of course, you know, later on, me and Asia have a lot of great moments, so it's no shade. Give me some water. It's a lot of talking.
I need some juice.
She needs some milk. Okay, so we get to Untucked, and because I knew that I was about to go there, I think I chugged 2 drinks without breathing. So anything that may have seemed unreasonable might be attributed to lack of sleep and 2 cocktails. But, you know, so the big hypocrite thing and then all this mess. So I said that most of the girls in the room had said that Eureka was a problem. And Monet and Cameron were like, I didn't say that. Why didn't say that? First of all, Cameron hadn't said nothing all season, so sure, she's out. She didn't say it. Monet, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But that's 2 girls out of the 8 that were left. And only 2 girls said that they didn't say anything. The other girls, maybe they did. So that was one thing. I think Monique did say that she was a little bothered by Eureka's performance. This is what you need to understand. When we sat down for Snatch Game, first of all, I sat on the top and Asia sat on the bottom. Producer stepped in and switched us. So now I am sitting between my 2 sworn nemesis, Aquaria and Eureka. So I'm in the worst possible position. I'm next to a baby and Melania Trump. Sweet. So a lot of that, and then like Eureka, knowing that I didn't like her as a person, still tried very hard to interact with me on the set, which got to me. And you know, if I was being a better competitor, I would have either played with her or played against her in a better way. But I was so wrecked emotionally that I was just like, please leave me the hell alone. Snatch Game is probably the worst experience that I had on the whole show. When I say on camera as Blue Ivy, I want to go home, I was speaking for Vixen. I was not speaking for Blue Ivy. I wanted out of that. But there was no way in hell that I was going to let myself go home because 4 girls on stage said that I was going home. Cut to this feeling, being on stage with my sister Monique, and I really did, more importantly, getting the video from my mom. Like, I was already on 10, as hot as I could possibly be, and then cut to my mother on screen. Me and my mom have always been really, really close, especially after my grandmother passed when I was 14, because then we really, really had to, we were the only 2 people in the house, so we were really face to face, and we became closer. She got to know me. She got to know me as a gay person. She got to know me as a drag queen, all these things. So me and my mom have been through so much, and to hear her say to the world that her baby is a fighter, not knowing what my entrance line was, not knowing what I had been doing, but just saying from her own heart that I was a fighter and that she believed in me and she loved me and she knew that if I fought for anything, it was important. that meant more to me than any validation from a judge or from RuPaul. And honestly, with that, I could have went home because that gave me something to go home to. Having my mom's approval means more to me than any guest celebrity that could ever grace any stage. So, but like I said, I was not about to go home just because some other bitches said that I was. So I did learn my words, America, and I pinned in my wig real good. Shout out to Wigs and Grace for that wig too, because that mermaid wig was amazing. I did not like that RuPaul said that she thought it was the best I looked, because I remember specifically, and I talked a bit today on Twitter about how sometimes I dress to appease. So me, even going into the reunion with this blonde hair and this white outfit and this gold and just lace and I was trying to come in peace. And I think for the Mermaid Challenge, it was probably the most palatable for white audiences I had looked. So for Ru to say that it was the best that I looked, when I had already turned out good looks, winning looks, sickening looks, clear bikinis and all this stuff, it really said a lot to what wins on the show. And it just rubs me the wrong way that, like, when I thought that I looked the most cookie cutter basic as I possibly could, Ru's like, that's a queen. So that says a lot about what reads and what wins on the show. Cut to the lip sync. I keep saying cut to. So when Monique cut her dress for the mermaid look to start the lip sync, a lot of pearls came off of it. Like she said, she had been up all night making the outfit. Guess the pearls weren't on very good. So before we even start the lip sync, the stage is covered in pearls. So I would say that that's probably the worst lip sync that I had on the season, and it was because every cartwheel, pirouette, dip, anything that I went for, I had pearls under my feet. And I mentioned that in the reunion, but I guess that wasn't as interesting as what went down. So, you know, as upset as I was with Monique when we started the lip sync, the second that I heard Ru tell her to sashay away, I was like, my baby! Because I really did care so much for her. I'm gonna go back because I think I skipped over another important relationship on the show, me and Blair. So when Blair first got to Drag Race and when we started working, me and Blair shared a closet because there was, I think, 14 girls and only 12 spaces for clothes. And so I got to see everything that Blair had to bring, and I knew that she had some good drag in there. She brought it. And when we started making our 99-cent looks, Blair was working next to me, and she was shivering, and she was nervous, and I was like, girl, I've seen your drag. You have nothing to be afraid of. And so we had a long talk about just what got us there and the confidence it takes to get on Drag Race. And, you know, we just kind of built each other up. It was like too early in the competition to be trying to go for somebody's jugular. Me and Blair really bonded from day one. So having to send Blair home, especially after her sharing such a important story, was very, very, very hard for me. Blair was off the stage and I was still crying. So I shout out to Blair because I really wish that you guys could have seen. Hey Blair, are you watching? I really wish you guys could have seen our friendship, and it shouldn't get lost. But also, I will say to the fandom, after that episode aired where I spoke up for Blair and said that I couldn't wait to find the person that attacked her, that was probably the first time on the show that I was starting to get support from fans. It was like, oh, Vixen's so nice, she's standing up for Blair. Listen, I was getting along with a lot of girls before that on the show, but it wasn't until I stood up for a white queen that all of a sudden people were starting to understand me. This is what's wrong with y'all. Y'all need to work on that. Because also when I finally at the end of, and when I was eliminated, said that I was starting to understand Aquaria, all of a sudden all these people are coming around. You can like a black queen who doesn't get along with a white queen. It's okay. I don't have to like every white queen, and don't let that be the only reason that you like me. If you only like me because I am friends with Blair or friends with Aquaria, you don't really like me. Moving on. So we did that. Monique had to go home. We're back in the workroom. It's share time. So, first of all, when I saw that Rockstar wig that they wheeled out for my share, I was like, oh girl, you are fucked. It's also important to say that on the share episode, when Monet is on stage for her part, you might see me in the background doing choreography. I was given a poncho with moth holes in it to do this gypsy character on stage while Monet was singing about cultural appropriation. I asked producers multiple times, why do I need to be on stage for this? I don't have a speaking part for this, and also it makes no sense. Looking back, a song about cultural appropriation is completely against my brand. I had no business on that stage. I would not make light of cultural appropriation. So having me on the stage for that point, one, wasted my time, it distracted me from my own part, and it made me look like a bit player in Monet's show. So I tried to get out of it, and I was kind of told, like, it's your decision if you want to do it or not, but you really should. Cut to 6 months later, and they don't even really show me dancing in that part, so I got screwed. Cut to my performance as Cher. If, looking back, I wish I would have just had the boss to say, fuck this, I'm gonna go put on some bone straight hair and do some ho like everybody else and get through it. Another important thing to say about the Cher Rusical is that the girls with the hardest choreography were in the bottom. Me, Aquaria, yes, Aquaria, you were in the bottom, and Asia. The girl who had the least amount of choreography, Cameron, won. Because sang songs, has nothing to do with single ladies dance all night, all that. I went home with different homework then. And a lot of girls have a lot to say about Cameron. What I will say about Cameron's ascent to top 4 is don't hate the player, hate the game. It is not Cameron's fault that she was able to say nothing all season and still make it to the top 4. It was not Cameron's fault that I had more Cameron time in 8 episodes than she had in 12. It was not Cameron's fault for any of that. That is the producers and the judges. My friends are the worst. And so, we all came there hoping to get to top 4. And so when the judges are loving you, you can't expect for Cameron to say, no, I don't deserve this. Not everyone is going to do that. I think Ben de la Creme is the only person who's ever said, you know what, I've been loved too much here, I'm peacing out. So when it comes to Cameron, don't hate the player, hate the game. So another thing that happened on the Cher episode that people love to talk about is my conversation with Asia. As much as I can, I try to skirt away from this conversation because it's very one-sided. What aired was Asia telling me what she thought about my experience. What didn't air was me explaining my experience to Asia. In that conversation, if you rewatch it, you just see me nodding and kind of holding back tears the entire time. When, in Drag Race history, have I had nothing to say? So, as much as I do appreciate that Asia came over and talked to me and tried to relate to me in that moment, I wish that I would have been able to have a voice for myself. But sometimes, like I've been saying, when you're in these situations, it takes someone else to speak up for you. And I'm really grateful that Asia has been willing to do that on numerous occasions. Also, if you ever see queens who should be doing their makeup stopping to talk, it's because a producer asked them to. None of us are like, you know what, I've got 40 minutes to put on this face, but let me talk to you about your mama. That's not how things go. It's not real at all. But even with that being said, Asia did say some important things and came to my aid. What I will say is she referred to it as the angry black woman syndrome. Now, syndrome implies that it's a sickness or it's something that needs to be healed. Black women have plenty of valid reasons to be angry. It's not something that needs to be healed. What needs to be healed is the things that are making black women angry. like cultural appropriation and double standards. So I am never going to be ashamed about being an angry black woman. I think that the fandom, the show, the world should be ashamed about the things that make black women angry, because black women are some of the most underappreciated women in the world. Malcolm X says the most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. And you know what? It's not okay. And that's why we're angry. And as Portia O says, we have every right to be pissed the fuck off. So, that's that on that. Hiya. So let's cut to the reunion. So like I said, I got there and I'm sitting in my nice pretty dress and I'm in blonde and I'm lacy and white and my makeup is light and I just want to have a good time. Something that I didn't share with anybody while we were filming or while we were in LA is that days before we filmed the reunion, I found out that my mother was in the hospital. She's fine now, but the way that I found out was a photo of her with a tube up her nose. And so I had to call her and ask, what the hell are you doing and why are you trying to give me a heart attack? But she said to me, no, stay there, because I wanted to come home. I was like, I do not care about this reunion or this finale. I'm coming home. And my mother said, no, stay there, because if you don't stay for the reunion, they're going to say that you're being petty. They're going to say that you ran away and that you're causing a stunt. So I stayed, and I was like, okay, then I'm going to stay, and I'm going to thank my fans, and I'm going to get this thing done, because my mama told me so, and then I'll go take care of my mom. So to be already putting very important things aside for this here TV show that has already given me the big boot, as Vanjie said. Well, Vanjie said that she got the big boot, I got a kitten heel, but we'll see what she says now. So to already be putting very important issues aside to film this reunion, I was on edge. But I went in with the intention to smile through everything, to keep my voice light. I was hoarse from gigs. I was hoarse from filming the finale. I could barely speak in the first place, so it was easy for me to keep my voice nice and soft. But once we got to my line of questioning, I thought it was very telling that the first thing they wanted to say to me was, Vixen, let's talk about your confrontational side. Usually at reunions, it's, Vixen, how you doing? How's it been going? How's your life changed since the situation? Compare Vanjie's segment to mine. It didn't start with any drama. It was, Vanjie, how's your life changed? Have you made lots of money? Vixen, why are you such a bitch? So that already told me that it was going to be a day. The next thing was the way that questions were asked. Being like, me saying that the fight with Eureka was the most upset that I had ever seen myself, and then Ru saying, and would your friends and family say that? Like, oh, I don't believe you? Why are you going out of your way to disagree with me? Ru is there to be a moderator, not an instigator, I thought. Sips tea.
Do you want some drink?
Yes, I want some drink. So that was very shocking to me. And then, here's the thing. Me and Eureka saw each other that morning. I said, your dress is gorgeous. She said, your hair is gorgeous. We had a good day. We really weren't in the mood to go at it. We've been through it enough. But if we're talking about it, we're talking about it. Okay. Oh, I'm going there. Okay. So since the show, once we got close to the episode, I'm going to talk about Eureka for a little bit. Once we got close to the episode where my first fight with Eureka was going to come out, she was going to be in Chicago, and I was not. And she was messaging me a lot out of the blue. And I was like, girl, I'm not going to be here, but, good luck with all that. I'll talk to you later. And she was like, well, come have a drink with me, like, before you leave or something. Like, I really want to see you. She was very, 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 very insistent on trying to hang out, and I just didn't have the time. I had to go to Toronto for a gig. And then it came out, and I realized this concept of her testing me. And it really felt like she had, she knew that the worst was yet to come, and she wanted to somehow get a photo or something to say, or a hug to say that, look, we're cool, there's nothing wrong. So I was glad that I didn't give her that, because had I done that and seen the episode, I would have been twice as upset. And I was really upset that I had spent all this time thinking that it was all my fault, that I was the monster in the situation, that I took it there, and that I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut, and I was always there for a fight. And again, I reaffirm, I did not start not one fight. I wasn't instigating with Miss Cracker and Aquaria. I didn't start it with Aquaria. Aquaria came from my win for Best Drag. For whatever reasons, not a fight I started. Eureka testing me. Now, throughout the season, that shows up in many ways. After Snatch Game, where I was visibly annoyed with Eureka, she comes to me and says, "Isn't it funny that we both did kids?" Why are you talking to me? Why are you even talking to me? You know I don't feel right about it. You know the vibe that I've been giving you all day. That's what I call poking. When we get to the share challenge, they do a montage of all of us like singing our parts. What they show is Eureka singing my part. Why is Eureka singing my part of the share musical? Is she trying to get on my nerves? Is she trying to get under my skin? I don't know. When I was eliminated, all the girls, as they always do, come up to the stage and hug you before you walk off. Eureka was the only person who did not hug me. But when I got to Untucked to pack up my things, Eureka did leave me a note, and I was very hesitant to read it. And so I had a producer read it, and the producer said that it wasn't worth reading. I read it anyway to myself, and it was basically, "Girl, you slayed this season, you know, we're gonna be sisters for life." It was very cliche. It could have been written for anybody with just a name signed at the bottom. It was fake. Since the show and filming, every time that there was going to be any scuffle between me and Eureka, she would like stalk my phone and be like, "Girl, I'm trying to talk to you about this. I just really feel this way, that way." And when it started coming out, the video about her saying the N-word, she was yelling at us in our group message that we should be supporting her and having her back through it. And it was like, you made that video before any of us met you. But, you know, I spoke out. I said, I don't want anybody sending hate towards my sisters or whatever, yada, yada, yada. Cut to DragCon. Now, Asia had her own experience with Eureka. My experience with Eureka at DragCon was my assistant is shaking his head right now. So my experience with her was anytime we were out in public, she was literally backing me into a corner. Vixen, how are you girls? Good to see you. Can I have a hug? Let's take a picture together. Like, you clearly know that we have a beef. Why are you doing this? What happens when somebody does that to you, it's really a microaggression. Because what it is because we're in public, I can't say, "Leave me alone," because then I'll look like a bitch. And I can't say, "Go away," or like, leave. You know, anything that I say that isn't just giving you what you want out of me and making it seem like we're cool, which we're not, makes me look like the bad guy. When really, you should just be, like I said to Aquaria, leaving me alone, because you know we're not cool. Even in dressing rooms at the shows that we did, she's walking up on me and my team and like talking to us, and I'm like, what do you want? We're not friends. You don't have to do this. You have your whole station over there. You have no reason to come over here. Thank you. So, I had, throughout the season and weeks leading up to the season, asked a couple of my sisters and producers to communicate to Eureka to literally leave me alone. We're not friends. We're not going to be friends. It's fine. We will be cordial in person, but stop cornering me. Stop putting me in this situation that is only triggering for me. I think a lot of times Black people don't have the language to express mental health issues or just things that we should know, like triggering or anxiety and things like that. And I will say that, like, Eureka being a Southern girl, a white girl with a lot of privilege in the competition was very triggering for me. Because I am a Northern girl, a Black girl who has been mistreated by white people, white drag queens in some situations. And so it was triggering for me. So what I needed most from Eureka from the start of the season was space, and I never got that. So at one point, I finally messaged our group message to Eureka and said, look, this is the only way I can get through to you. Please leave me alone. Stop talking about me in articles. Stop talking about me on Twitter. Just leave me alone. Now, instead of handling that maturely, Eureka, who started our group message, made every other queen in the group message an administrator and then deleted herself from the group message and blocked me on Twitter. She blocked me on Twitter, but she was still talking about me on Twitter. Not very mature, not the way you handle a situation. The only time anyone runs from something like that is when they're in the wrong. Unless you're like me at the reunion and you're being attacked and the only choice you have is to leave the room. But so that's where I was with Eureka for the longest time. Now, after the reunion and everything that I went through, you would think that it would finally click with Eureka, it would get through. When I saw Eureka the night after the reunion, and after I had walked out and all this stuff, I saw Eureka outside the hotel on the street. And do you know what she said? She said, "Girl, can I just give you a hug? Have I not made it clear that I do not have any intention on ever hugging you?" So you know what I did? I gave her a hug. And I hope that that is the last time I ever have to do that. Another part of filming at the finale, I thought I had to do some filming as a boy. And I put on my boy interview outfit from the season, my black shirt with the leather cutouts. When I came back from filming and took off that shirt, I subconsciously threw it in the trash can. And I was like, whoa. And I think that was my body trying to tell me that I was done. So a lot of things have gone on since here and there, but what's most important to me has been the reaction from the fans. I really did not expect any support this season. I was expected to be painted as the villain. I was expected to be hated and misunderstood. And I got a little bit of that. But what is the most important and what I would have liked to talk about at the reunion is the love that I've gotten, the support, all the articles that have been written about me, the support from the fans, the support from the alumni. I am on 3 most influential lists of 2018. What drag queen gets that kind of honor? And none of that was going to be brought up at the reunion, which is a shame, because I feel like I did some really important things on the show, off the show, with the platform. I have shared a charity every episode for the whole season 10, and I have raised money for some really important things. I used to run a youth center called the Youth Pride Center, and they were the first charity that I shared, and they raised over $3,000 to go on their retreat this year, so congratulations to them. I'm very happy for them. You know, I was just in London, and I donated my meet and greet to Gia Gunn's transition. Gia is one of my Chicago sisters, and I am so happy for her, and I hope she lives a beautiful life as the beautiful woman that she has always been. But none of those things were going to be brought up at the reunion, and so that was very sad to me. And that's why I left, because I could see that my story was not going to be told the way that I wanted to be told. Before I go, I also want to thank all of the publications that have shared my story, helped you guys digest it a little bit better. Right now I'm doing a week-long takeover with Pride.com, and so there's a lot of articles coming out this week about my experiences in drag and Pride and being queer and black and all these intersectional things. I think that's wonderful. And I just really want to thank all of these young queer journalists and people who have helped tell my story differently, helped people see me in a different light. And because it really is you guys. Like, the show can do everything it wants to try to paint me one way, but I think what is amazing is that you guys have seen through the bullshit, you know what's up, and you're not standing for it. And so you guys have all the power. It's just like voting. If you choose to look beyond the bullshit and make the right decision, that's what's up. I always said evil triumphs when good queens do nothing. I got a couple seconds left. I will say a lot of this narrative has been the fandom has an issue, the fandom has an issue with this, the fandom needs to work on this. I think we need to face facts. The show has an issue. The show needs to work on treating queens of color, minorities better. There's never been a Middle Eastern queen on the show. I think the show needs to, we need more trans queens on the show, and they need to be celebrated. Black queens need to be celebrated. There needs to be challenges that foster success for queens of color. I think it's time that we hold the show accountable for the product that it presents. Thank you guys so much. I love you.